So that begs the question, right? Is Nick the Tooth this thing that I am, or is it a brand? At first it was just purely a funny thing that Dana White and I decided to do. Being an entrepreneur, especially as I'm now in Miami looking to ramp things up, I have to constantly remind myself to stay balanced and not, I gave you the analogy before of it's very easy to sprint at the beginning of a marathon, but if you don't finish, doesn't matter, and it's very easy to burn yourself out, man. Yeah, man. You gotta be like, you gotta be thinking. I learned that in jiu-jitsu competition too, man, where I'm like, so what? You won one match, you won 2 matches. That doesn't get you to the podium or, get you first place. You got to manage. That's part of managing, your energy and your output and all that while you have an opponent. That's why I think jiu-jitsu and martial arts are such great training. Like Miyamoto Musashi said, for everything, it bleeds over into everything in life. And I learned that in competition,
Well, you can't. Yeah. In that scenario, like it becomes brutally obvious very quick that if you don't conserve your energy, you can't do shit. It don't matter like what your ability is, what your technique structure is. If you can't conserve the gas and you blow it too quick, like they fucking play with you like you're a child. You know what I mean? Because you got there's nothing there.
I've gone against guys who really, being a guard player, I let them, I'll pull guard and play like a defensive game for like a minute or two to see how aggressive they're going to be. Some guys aren't, but some guys just burn out. And then you're just like, all right, now it's my turn,
Yeah.
So, but anyways, business, you have to be like that. You got to be like, shoot, it's a long haul, right? I mean, how long have you been in business?
A long time, almost 20 years. Since, almost 20 years.
Yeah, and if you burn out, being the leader, then anyways. So yeah, dude, I'm in Miami. I don't know if you notice anything different.
No. I mean, what is there something? Is the background different? And like what's out the window?
I got my tooth. The tooth is gone.
So, all right, wait a second. So I'm listening to you and I'm like, does he have like one of those Zin pouches or something in? But it's not. You got teeth. like you sound a little different. Like I guess it's like a whole new thing. Holy shit. That's cool, man. How does that feel?
No, I don't know how I got my implant.
Oh, okay.
But I am going to get my tooth in the next couple of weeks, and then that's going to be it. And I am going to kill my Nick the Tooth Instagram and all my social media, and it's done.
I was just going to say, like, fucking, like, Nick the Tooth is a thing, and like, what do you? It's Siri just seconded. She's like, no more Nick.
Siri's like,
so like that's like, all right. But here's a question. This is a good question. Nick the Tooth, is Nick the Tooth just a kind of a brand that you've developed, or is Nick the Tooth part of like who you identify yourself to be?
Man, that's such a good question. One of the things that, I love samurai culture, but I also love like Indian culture too. And one of the things that was and I'm talking about in India, not in America, but one of the things that was very common in both of their cultures was that people would go through phases. Like Miyamoto Musashi had like 3 or 4 names. And so what happens is it's really fascinating. And so they would go through periods where they were like, I'm no more, like he was born Shinman. And then he changed his name at a later time. And only later in his life did he become known as Miyamoto Musashi. And so, you know, I've always loved that. I think that's great. And so that begs the question, right? Is Nick the Tooth this thing that I am, or is it a brand? At first it was just purely a funny thing that Dana White and I decided to do. And then it kind of took on a life of its own and went, right?
Well, I mean, we know each other for as long as we know each other, but I first came to know about you from his show, Dana White Looking for a Fight. And it was like Dana White and Nick the Tooth. And so I kind of, you know, like I'm sure a lot of people, you know, came to know you in that light. And so I figured like, that's just like, that's what you go by, you know?
It is what I went by, but it only became, and there was a life even before that. Was
it back like like did he give you that nickname when you guys were kids? Like back
no.
one?
So what happened is the story of Nick the Tooth is I was surfing, I think it was 2012, maybe even 2011. And I was surfing a really, really big swell. It was called like the Code Red swell, came out of Tahiti and hit Tahiti with like the biggest waves they ever saw. So I love surfing big waves. And so we went down to trestles. I'm not talking about pipeline big waves or Portugal, Nazarene big waves, but I'm saying like, you know, 2-3-story waves. And so I would be like, yes, we're going to get everything ready. We know, you know, the swells that big are coming for like a week, you know? So I went and had a big board with a pintail on the back, and I went and bought a new leash. And I wanted a new leash because when the waves are that big, I didn't want my leash breaking, and I wanted the board to come back to me quicker so I could grab it and get back out. Because when you're in the impact zone, oh my God, dude, there's nothing else in life that, I may have brought this up before, but that has made me feel like I'm going to die except surf. That's it. It's the only thing.
Yeah.
You know, maybe on my motorcycle once or twice, but other than that, no, just surfing. So the big swell came. I got this leash, and I was out surfing for like 2-3 hours, and it was big and it was kind of unruly. And finally, after I'm like, I'm going in, I'm done. And so I caught enough waves. I was stoked. I took a big wave in, and on the inside, I pulled into a barrel, and as I pulled into the barrel, the thing broke on me, and it like shoved me to the bottom to where I'm tumbling, and it just went dark. And when it went dark, I was like, oh shit. I couldn't get my breath. So my board was what they call tombstoning, like this. So the waves are pushing it, and it's trying to push it out, but the leash is so taut that it's tombstoning. So you can only see the top half. And then what happened is with that tension on the leash, I kicked off of it to come up for air because I needed a breath, and it pulled the board down and released. And I could feel the board chattering back towards me over the top of the water as I was coming up, and right when I came up. And it's when waves are that big, you'll get like 2 feet of foam. So you can hardly even get a breath anyways. And I went up and I inhaled for a breath, and the pintail hit right on the back. I mean, right on the bottom of my tooth that's missing now. And I just saw stars, man. I was gone, complete concussion in gnarly waves. I got my board, and I was like, I got to go catch some waves. So I started paddling back out to catch some waves, which is completely nonsensical, but I had a concussion. And so as I was paddling back out, I'm looking at, it's almost sunset. It's beautiful.
So you just forgot that you're like fucking flailing in the ocean and just got knocked in the head. And like, you might fucking die. Like, you just forgot.
I was like, I'm going to catch some waves right now.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I'm going to catch waves right now. And so then I'm on my way back out. And as I was on my way back out, I looked down, and there's blood everywhere on the water. Wow. And so I was like, oh shit. And it hit me that I got hit by the board. And then I was like, oh my God, I got to go in. Something's wrong. So I went in and my tooth is cracked in half. Anyways, I was horrified, dude. My teeth were perfect, right? I had braces when I was younger, everything. I was fucking horrified. I was like, oh my God, I can't believe this happened. And so I went to a dentist, and the dentist capped the tooth and gave me a crown over the top. And he's like, this should be fine. You didn't lose too much of the tooth. And so then I went to New Orleans. Dana and I, we went to New Orleans for a fight. And there was, because I'm from New Orleans. And so went to New Orleans for UFC fight. Dude, this is like UFC like 70 or something. I don't even know. It wasn't a pay-per-view though. It wasn't one of the main cards. It was like a fight night, but like UFC 70 or something. And so when I was there, every day my tooth started hurting a little more and a little more and a little more. And then by like the third day, dude, I had to take a flight back home. And so to get out of there because my mouth would hurt so bad. And so I landed in Los Angeles, and I knew a guy who's an endodontist, and he had a periodontist. So there were two, like the best, oral surgeons in Beverly Hills is where they did the work, and they extracted the whole tooth, cleaned it out, and then put an implant in. And he's like, yeah, and 8 weeks we'll put the implant on top of or we'll put the tooth, we'll screw it into the implant that goes in there. Dude, within 3-4 weeks, I start getting the same pain. And I'm getting this pain, and my face goes numb, and I'm talking to him. He puts me on antibiotics. He's like, yeah, you got an infection, but we'll leave it in there. Kept me on antibiotics for 6 months. I couldn't taste food. My head was fucking, my whole face was numb. And during that time, I think it was like November, you'd have to check the date, but we were in Seattle for a fight, and we were out drinking, and I was drunk as hell. We were all drunk as hell. And I was telling Joe Lazone's manager, Steve Mays, that I would fuck Joe Lazone up in a grappling match, right? And so next thing you know, Dana tweets it. I wake up in the morning, I don't even remember, right? And so I wake up and my phone is exploded.
Okay.
And because when my phone exploded, people are like, what happened? What are you doing? So next thing I know, dude, we filmed the whole blog. You can find the blog with Joe Lazone. And so next thing I know, I'm in the octagon in a grappling match with Joe Lazone, and we filmed it. And it was so cool, man. It was so cool. I'd only really at that point been training like probably 6 months,
Did you win? Did you win?
Are you crazy?
No shot.
Been training 6 months, and I'm going with one of the greats, a professional, MMA fighter. So no, I didn't.
That's a couple drinks, man. A couple drinks make you think you can take over the fucking world.
Courage, bro. Courage. I was so courageous.
Amazing. But that's incredible.
You never saw that video?
No, I never saw that video, but it's incredible. Like, that's like a real best buddy move. Like, tweet that shit out. So you got to realize, even before I did the fight, there were like years of us doing video blogs from the day social media kind of started. Yeah, and I remember the looking for a fight. I remember that, but I don't.
That was well after. That was like 4 years after that. So no, there was a whole thing before that. So Nick the Tooth started well before that. And those video blogs, I think at one point that the video of me and Joe rolling got like million and a half views. And yeah, dude. So everywhere I went before looking for a fight, anytime when I would go compete in jiu-jitsu, dude, everybody in the jiu-jitsu community saw that video with me fighting Joe Lazone. That thing was huge.
Wait. And so here's a real question. Like when like, all right, you wake up, Dana puts the tweet out, you realize you're going to have to do this. Were you like, bro, what the fuck is wrong with you? Or were you psyched? Like, were you pissed?
Oh, I was psyched. I was psyched. Okay. I was like, are you kidding me? I get to, it's like going to play basketball with Michael Jordan or something like that. You know what I mean? Exactly. I was like, exactly. It's not like it was an MMA fight, you know? I would never have done that. But no, dude, I was already, at that point, I was already, you know, sparring every single day with Hoffa Mendes. So I was like, what's going to happen? I know how to tap, you know? No. But one thing, I think, you know, one of the things that people don't really get is any UFC fighter, that is still fighting, they are in their prime. They are professional athletes, man. They have this athleticism that is unbelievable. And I'll tell you what, man, I used to train sometimes with pro surfer Bobby Martinez, who really one of the best pro surfers that ever lived in Santa Barbara. And I would go up there sometimes and train with him. Dude, his jiu-jitsu, his athleticism, his strength was unlike anybody, you know, because why? Because he's a professional athlete. To get to that level in a sport.
There's a gear there that like regular people don't have.
Yeah, genetically, they have better athleticism, better coordination, better strength, better reaction speed, better everything than you do. It's a pyramid. And to get to that, you know, especially something like any sport. Really. So no, did I beat Joe? No, I did not. 43 years old when he was 20 something and he was a pro and had been grappling professionally for, you know, a decade. No, I did not. But it was fun, man.
But so how does the nickname come to be? Dana gave it to you? He just started saying Nick the
Dana
Tooth
just said Nick the Tooth versus fucking versus Joe Lazone. And I was like, oh.
That's cool.
Okay, so that got tweeted, right? And then this is crazy. The video. So dude, we didn't just remember, this is the beginning of social media, really, for all intents and purposes. This is 2011, 2012. You got to realize that no one was really doing YouTube. No one was doing any of this. And Dana was like, this could be really cool. We should do something. Let's do these. His blogs had just started and all that. And so, but, you know, what happened was we were in the octagon and he called the whole video staff they have trucks. This is professional production, right? For a UFC event. And he's like, all right, I want all of this recorded from all the angles. I got camera crew. Dude, this match, you got to go watch it. This match was recorded like that. And then guess what happened? Then the next week, the next week we get back or whatever. And he's like, dude, do you have a copy did they give you a DVD of the fight? And I'm like, no. What do you mean me? No one gave me a thing. We were in Seattle. So he hit the roof, man. He's like, I need that video for the vlogs. And so this thing was missing for like 2-3 weeks. And he put everybody like on find this freaking, and we thought it was gone forever. And it turned out he found it. Someone found it. I don't know how. And and so then he called me in the morning, I remember, and he's like, dude, I'm going to release this thing. Are you sure about this? And I was like, what do you mean, am I sure? I don't care. And he's like, no, your life is going to change in the biggest way ever when this thing goes out. And he was
that was it.
That was it. That was Nick the Tooth. Boom. And then what happened, we were out to dinner with I think it was some people, I think it might have been Twitter. It was either Twitter or Facebook with some like high ups there. And they were like, oh, you need a Nick the Tooth account. And they're like, okay, we'll set it up for you. And they gave me all the stuff and they set it all up for me. Because even then, none of us were on any social media, you know?
Yeah.
It was all so new. Instagram, all that. So yeah. And sure enough, dude, let me tell you, when any gym that I ever went in after that first video with Joe Lazone, Any tournament I entered, when I would go to a tournament, everybody, because at the time, everybody who trained at Jiu-Jitsu was watching UFC. They watched the blogs. So anytime that I competed, it was like all eyes on,
Yeah. Nick the Tooth, man. That's crazy. So now what? I mean, like, did you all right, here's another question. This is cool. Like, so all these years, like, have you always, like, did you get to a point where you like, all right, like, what am I trying to say? Like, have you always hated it? Have you always been like, fuck, I don't like the way this look? Or did you lean into it? Like, has it become like, or do you not think about it? Does it, like, I don't know.
About what?
Like
the tooth?
It's like
having a missing tooth?
It became a persona, but it's also a physical appearance. And like, I guess on a certain level, it worked for you because it probably brought you opportunities and notoriety. And did it eventually become something that started as like, oh shit, I lost my tooth? Did it become like, oh wow, this is kind of cool? Did you lean into it?
Yeah.
I mean, I guess you did, right?
I totally loved it. It was the best. Yeah, I loved it. I thought it was awesome. I loved it. It was so cool. So, I would have gotten it fixed if I didn't,
Yeah. So now what?
But then I reached a point recently where I'm like, you know what? It's like sometimes there's an end of an era. And I think that's the lesson, like from Miyamoto Musashi and the way that the samurai and the way in India, the way these ancient cultures, even Native Americans were, it's like, listen, you and I have talked about this extensively, the idea of my personality is not real.
Yeah, sure.
And I've known that, right? That's something that I've leaned into more than anything over many, many years of studying Zen and all that, is that the idea of Nick is bullshit. It's just a collection of stories housed in my brain, changing all the time. I always refer people to the Jim Carrey documentary on Netflix where, he was playing Andy Kaufman. And Andy Kaufman was a big inspiration for me with Nick the Tooth. A big inspiration. Because the idea with Dana was, listen, let's do something that people will never expect, never tell them. Let's not do any interviews. I didn't do any interviews for like 4 or 5 years. And I just would not talk about it, and we just kept it really mysterious. But the idea was always, Andy Kaufman was not who you think Andy Kaufman was. And for me, it was fun because I'm a lawyer, right? I'm a lawyer. I'm a finance guy. I've got an MBA and all that. So this was an idea to play a character that was so divorced from who I really am. And it was fun. It was an Andy Kaufman-like thing. But back to what I was saying about Jim Carrey and that documentary is that, he, in that documentary, spoiler, in the end, he comes to realize as he became a method actor and, inhabited Andy Kaufman and completely lived as Andy Kaufman. When he went back to be Jim Carrey, he realized Jim Carrey was just as fictional as Andy Kaufman was. Yeah. And that is something that Zen has, that those ancient sages who sat in meditation long enough, and that's all they did, they realized, dude, this thing that I'm so attached to, that is Nick, it's fiction. And so, because of that, I found it very fun to be Nick the Tooth, but I never attached to that. And in fact, most of my meditative practice involves me distancing myself from whoever I may think I am.
Sure. That's right? Interesting. I read something once that said like they're like infinite versions of yourself. Like if you think about like you exist, all the people that know you and all the people that you meet, like there's a different version of you that exists in that person's mind. And then there's the version of you that exists in your mind, and like how there's so many different versions of you, this character that, you know, Jesse, Nick, and how like there's variation amongst whoever's perspective is on you, whether it's your own or your, you know what I mean? Like you have a perspective of me, I have a perspective of you, but then other people in our lives, they do too. And there's no two are alike. You know what I mean? Two people can know you, but they're two different versions of who you are in their head. So it's like, it really is just like a collection of stories and perspectives. And like, it doesn't like what is it? And I think it's a cool concept that like, you know, you had this character, it served you. And now it's like, now let's do the next thing. And to take it even further, like you call it out, like, do you notice anything different? I didn't notice anything different. So I think that you don't even like, I mean, I guess if I'm looking for it and I'm thinking about it, but like looking at you, like, it's not like, oh shit, not at all.
No. It's cool. And, you know, I think, you know, so we have these different versions of Jesse with everybody that we meet, but I think it's important to go even deeper to realize that we have different versions of Jesse inside of us. Sure. So I might view myself differently sometimes, right here in this instance in business. I view myself differently when I'm in this instance at jiu-jitsu. I'm different when I'm with my family. I'm different with, you know, and it's not just, it goes to the point where it's not just that I'm acting a certain way or I'm in a certain role as father, as, you know, entrepreneur or whatever. It's more about the stories that we're telling ourselves.
Yeah.
In these different instances. So if you think about and you sit with your psyche long enough, quiet enough, you can watch. It's all about watching. You watch the thoughts come and go. And what you realize is the brain is it's like a muscle spasm that happens, you know, 40,000 times a day. And it's spitting out just little bits of story about the future, about the past, about the future, about the past, about the future, about the past. And it's fucking maddening.
It is maddening. Absolutely.
It's maddening.
Especially if you're in tune with it very much, you know?
It's maddening for everyone. I don't think anybody is immune.
I guess just some people are aware of the madness and some people are just lost in it.
Well, some people are so in it, you're right, that they're not even aware that they're in a storm. You know, and that's what meditation teaches us, to get that distance to where we can become the observer and the witness of it. And when you do that, you know, I think that the reason that ancient like Zen and Hindi and all these different sages, that they came to be so aware of understanding, they got such an understanding of the human consciousness, because many of these just were the Brahmin caste in India. They were a caste of people who really just were like, hey, you meditate and you figure shit out, right? And so that's all they did. And so if you were an enunciate and you just sat with your consciousness every single day for 8 to 10 hours a day for decades,
wild,
you could come back off the mountain. Yeah. And that's what they did. You come back off the mountain and you better have, after using that much time and effort, come back with some incredible insights. Wow. And they did. And they came back and they said, it's all bullshit. The mind is all just doing this, and it's causing all of our suffering. And what we're doing is we're taking these little bits of story and we're crafting a wall, right? Each one is a little brick, and then I'm building this wall, and then I'm going to build another wall, I'm going to build another wall, and I'm going to build the ceiling. And that house becomes my identity. The problem with the house is it's a prison.
Sure.
And the idea for them with meditation was liberation. I want to be free of this. I just want to be. I just want to be able to go outside and not be tortured by the mental chatter and trying to keep up the identity, the little bits of story to keep them all intact, because it's like a house of cards. It's always falling somewhere. It's always, so we got to do this and we got to do this and I got to do this.
Yeah, it's endless.
So back to what we were saying is, I think that's when someone like Miyamoto Musashi said, clear the deck. I want a new name. I've got a new name now. It's all gone before. Just wipe it clean and I'm starting over. Tabula rasa, completely.
So are you just Nick Gullo? Are you Niccolo? what are we doing?
I don't know if I want any story. I don't really want any story. I don't know. I don't want any story. But yeah, it'd just probably be Nick. It'll probably just be Nick. When I was in in Sicily, it was Niccolo. But, but here it'll just be Nick, and until I come up with a better name, maybe Alfred or something. I don't know.
All right.
But yeah. So anyways,
what's going on with opening up a gym and all that?
Still kind of looking down here and looking at places. I'm so flabbergasted by how I think coming from Southern California, I'm so used to an incredible density of high level gyms.
And I'm talking about
elite level gyms.
Yeah.
What's that?
Yeah, it's like the Mecca. It's like the Mecca. And such a variety of you have like high level people in all shapes and sizes with all sorts of games.
All shapes and sizes.
Yeah.
And not only that, you have a culture of people, a community of people who have been training for so long there that you can easily find, we're going to train in this garage, we're going to train here. And you can go and get on, just hook up with people and be like, I'm going to train in a garage. I'm training in this garage right now with 6 of us. And guess what? 5 of us or 4 of us are purple belts and above. That's what I'm not finding here.
Got it.
That's what I want to find here. There's just not that density here. I don't really get it.
Interesting.
I think, you
would think that there's a little bit of a scene. I mean, it's Miami, but I guess people don't really go there for that. People go there for different things.
I think that I just haven't, checked. I just haven't tapped into it yet. Okay. But I don't know. The gyms I've gone to, I've just been kind of like, yeah, it's good. It's not Cyborg. I dropped by Cyborg's gym. I haven't trained there. I might train there tomorrow. But I know that's a very high level gym, but other than that, I just haven't, it's not just like in Southern California, we have AOJ, it's like,
it's Atos is out there. I mean, there's so many.
Atos, just even in the Huntington area and wherever. So anyways, I don't know. We'll see. I mean, even where you are, there's such good jiu-jitsu,
Yeah, we got a pretty solid scene out here. It's been around for long enough to where there's a bunch of gyms. I'm actually what I was telling you about, was going on last week. I'm actually thinking about taking mine. I mean, mine now is like a club. But I'm thinking seriously about making, a little bit more of an investment and taking it up a notch and kind of turning it into a real gym.
Were you gonna have kids there?
Yeah. So exactly. So like a bunch of the guys that train here with us, we've all been training together for a long time. Like 2 or 3 of us have like kids that are in wrestling that are all like the same age. So we could probably get a summertime kids grappling club.
That'd be so cool.
That sort of thing. And so I'm seriously thinking about taking the step and doing it. I think, I got enough shit on my plate, but I think that getting, like what I was saying before, if I close my eyes and I think about, I like the story of, having a jiu-jitsu gym better than some of the things that I'm doing, now anyway. You know what I mean? It's more, it's more in tune with, who I am and what I want as a person and lifestyle. And so I'm thinking about doing that. Yeah.
Oh, dude, that's so cool, man. That is so cool. And you guys have an instructor though, right?
So we have a black belt who's like, he's like our Yoda, but he works in private security and he takes care of a lot of like the A-list folks. So he does a lot of traveling. So we don't have like a set class schedule. When he's here, we all train in the mornings, and then we have 2 instructors that will run classes. Like one guy does evenings and then another guy does mornings, but it's really small. So it's like, they're almost like large privates. It's like 5 or 6 people in a class most of the time. We'll have open mats on the weekends and we'll get like, 15, 20 people. But so like, we're still kind of in that like small dojo-esque kind of, and it's cool. It's a really cool vibe. And I want to keep that. But I want to just kind of crank it up a little bit. And then we have squat racks, and I have all of those like unconventional training things. Like I have sandbags and like steel mace and kettlebells and all that shit.
So it's pretty cool. So yeah, I mean, that's like my idea is either I'm going to open a gym, or I want to have a club like that. I just don't know which one I want to do yet. So, I don't know. I'll figure it out. Yeah. But I want something. I wish you had the gym down here, man, because that's what I mean. So in Southern California, there are numerous places where people roll like that. Like like at Violent Gentlemen, it was a club by AOJ. It was a guy, his hockey brand, Brian, and we would go over there and we would train. There was always people there training. In fact, you would get like Tommy Lanker, you get some of the best guys in the world and women that would train there. So it was phenomenal.
We kind of have that. We have people from all over the, we'll shoot by, and it's kind of cool. We have like a little rep, cool. Like we're like the Long Island Studio 540 kind of, you know what I mean? Like we're independent. Yes. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's kind of a cool vibe, which is, it's been cool.
That's so rad, man. That's so cool. Yeah. So anyways, now I'm jealous. So I'm like, man, I got to roll. What is it? Friday? Yeah. I'm going to go to Atos and do an open mat tonight. But, nice. But yeah. So anyways, that's kind of it. Miami has been, I'm really digging it so far. I can't even believe what is happening from a business standpoint and all of these companies moving massive.
It's developing.
Dude, like I've never seen anything in my life, Amazon, Microsoft, Amazon, Apple, Citadel.
Nobody wants to live in New York and LA anymore because New York and LA suck. Like we maxed it out. Dude, you know what I mean?
The only thing is that, California is so amazing. The weather is so amazing. I just wonder how people are going to deal with this heat. We're talking about 105 degrees, 100% humidity. I'm used to it. I'm from New Orleans, I've lived in Florida for years. So
I just think people have gotten like, I mean, I lived in LA for a little bit, long time ago. But I grew up here in Long Island. We're 40 minutes outside of New York City. And just growing up all these years, like it's just been obvious that like we've been maxing this out. Like how expensive can it get? How tightly restricted can it get? How oversaturated can it get? And you've just seen it happen to where I think people are like, fuck this, man. You know what I mean? Like, and I think that's the same thing is happening in California. People are just like, it's just too much. It's like the powers that be are taking advantage a little bit too much. And eventually people are going to say, fuck it.
And I think you're right. I think it's the old adage of the frog in boiling water, where, a frog will sit in boiling water as it slowly heats up until it's cooked and dead. And human beings are very much like that. But I think COVID kind of went pop and it shocked people. And then they said, wait a minute, I don't have to be here. Even the big tech companies were like, we don't have to be here. We don't have to live here. Yeah, so
I've known so many people that have moved to Miami.
Really?
Because there's a lot of New Yorkers down there because it's it's New York at 100 degrees, which is in February.
Yeah.
That's great.
No, it's true. It's true. So, I know a lot of people moved to Texas. I was like, dude, I couldn't, but I'm a water person, man. I have to be by the water. For me, I'm like, no way could I live in Texas, man. I grew up in Vegas. I could not ever live in the desert again.
Rogan and Elon Musk are like those two guys, like single-handedly transformed Austin. Like those two guys just like they that's pretty crazy how they just a scene and like a whole, that city's got to be indebted to those two dudes.
I just read a report that a lot of people that moved there are leaving. I don't know how true that is. Yeah, well, just dude, when you get to go through summer there, it'll then you'll have a real. It's easy in winter,
Yeah,
it's easy in spring and fall. When you get to, it was like me in Sicily, man. I mean, after once August, by the time I made it through July and then August, I was like, no. I grew up in Vegas. It's very desert. It reminded me of Vegas. It was like living on the sun. It was like walking. Yeah. It was so hot.
Yeah.
I was like, nope, being cool, but it's not that cool. I'm like, I want to see where, and then I'm such a weather person. I'm such a weather whore that even today, I check apps on my phone for weather all over the world. And I'm just like, oh, I wonder what it's like there. I wonder what it's like there. I wonder what, different places I've lived, different places I've been to. And one thing I learned about Europe, all of Europe, even Sicily, is during the winter for 3-4 months, it is rainy and cold. Even Sicily, which is 30 miles from freaking Africa.
Interesting.
So, I was like,
and Southern California has like the best weather in the world. I mean, I think Southern California might have the best weather in the world.
In the world.
Yeah.
The only place that compares to Southern California is the Canary Islands off of Africa that are a Spanish colony. And I was considering living there because I was like, okay, I can surf there. I can live there because I have an Italian passport. And
no LA politics.
Nope. Yeah, but in the end, you're on a little island, so it's man, in the end, I'm a spoiled American.
Yeah, we all are, man.
I want first world comfort. Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, third world's cool to visit, but I'm too spoiled.
100%.
I learned that about myself.
Yeah, same. How's the Tesla going? The driver, the auto,
the self-driving.
Yeah,
it's dude. I love it. It's cool, man. It's fun.
Are you using it? Are you using it a lot?
Yeah, I use it all the time. I use it every day.
Really? Mm-hmm. And you're comfortable with it now? Like it's you're not even thinking about it really.
I don't use it for. I don't use it like. I don't set the thing going and then get all the way there. Like, let's say I'm driving 10 miles. I don't do it like that. So I'll get in the car, I'll get going, and then I'll trigger it. Right. And
like
then when I get to
almost?
it, it's the same thing. You push it just like cruise control. And then the car will drive itself. And then I could play on my phone and do all the shit I'm not supposed to do. And then, I will, then I'll jump in when it gets a little gnarly or the thing's going a little slow. Sometimes it'll go slow. And then I'll jump in and I'll take off and get through the hairy thing, then trigger it again. So it's like one of those things that I'm triggering for 5-6 minutes at a time, probably.
That's crazy.
I know. It's so cool, man. It's so indicative, like we talked about last time, it's so wild to think where we're going to be in 5 years and 10 years, man. I tell you what, though, what's freaking me out is that I have a Tesla and I'm watching Elon Musk like completely implode with Twitter. That looks like a complete disaster. And then now he's doing it with Tesla and shutting down.
Paid attention. What's going on?
They're just the stocks tanking, and he came in and fired 10, 20% of the people, completely scrapped the entire supercharger team that puts in the infrastructure for the superchargers. So the infrastructure is what's the most critical part of owning an electric car, because you need places to be able to charge. The more, the better. And so, but I think I read somewhere that at least in California, they have one supercharging station for every 5 gas stations. That's amazing.
Yeah.
And not only that, even in Miami and all across Florida, there's enough superchargers, Tesla superchargers, to where I could travel anywhere. It's easy. It's fine. But if you have a house, you don't ever need to use a supercharger anyways. You just charge at your house.
Yeah.
You don't need a supercharger. You don't even need to install a good charger. You could just use a regular wall plug, and overnight it'll keep your shit charged.
That's crazy. He's a crazy motherfucker, but I if I'm at the casino, I'm betting on him because he's the type of guy that just rips the whole thing apart and then puts it back together, and people are like, holy shit, we never even realized that we didn't need half of those people, and he just figured out how to do the supercharger for 50% cheaper, and he's a crazy motherfucker. But
the only thing that scares me is he fired the whole team. He got rid of the whole team.
But that's his style. That's his style.
I know.
His style is nobody's going to be comfortable. The fuck out of here.
Nope.
We're going all the way.
Nope. I'm not going to be comfortable. Why should anybody else be comfortable?
Exactly right. Yeah, he's a wild boy.
He's a lunatic, and I definitely respect him. So
he wouldn't be cool to hang out with, though. I don't think he'd be cool to hang out with.
No,
I don't think so. I mean, I guess maybe I guess he'd have to really respect you in order to be, and I feel like there's probably so few people that he really respects.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I'm sitting here thinking how I would react to him. I don't know. It's interesting, an individual that has that much power and that much wealth, it's always, it's always a very, it's always weird, man. It's so insolent. One of the things we were talking a little bit about the Nick the Tooth persona is that after a while, when all that happened, and I started hating going to fights, right? Because it would be too many, it would be so much attention, and there'd be so much that it was weird, right? It got fucking surreal and weird. And what I was so grateful about that is it gave me a glimpse into what it must be to be so famous that everywhere you go, there are people because what happens that's really weird is, and at the height of the blogs, not the show, but the blogs, dude, I remember being on a subway in London and people coming up to me. It was weird how people would, which was cool. People were always nice. It was always very cool, very kind. But what happens is we all have all of us have a human mind. Our minds are very similar, right? And so after a while, I think that with attention like that comes out of nowhere, your mind starts looking for in the crowd, whether people notice you or recognize you, right? It's
like a drug. It's like a drug, probably.
Yeah, and I don't necessarily, it's not, but it's not always it's not conscious. I think it's almost a protective mechanism, right? Because you're kind of what's going on? Where I need to understand my surroundings, right?
Well, and you can't show up like normally where like a regular person shows up and you're not, there's so many like aspects that you're not thinking about. You're just being yourself. You're being cool. Yeah. Whereas if people are expecting you, I would assume that like there's almost like a defensive stance, like, because you can't just be,
because there's enormous, what I realize is there's enormous comfort in anonymity, right? And so when you lose that, you're always looking and on guard, not in a paranoid way, but it's just in a way of, I want to understand my surroundings, right? And I want to understand. So you start looking at people. Do they recognize me? Do they not? Do they, and that sucked. That sucked. I don't know. Like, obviously we're not sitting here feeling sorry for, like movie stars and all that shit. That's part of their job.
But what's interesting,
it did allow me to understand that,
what I think is really interesting, and it's something that I've talked about a bunch, is like, I'm 42. I grew up, I was born in the 80s and like most of my life before all of this like explosion of social media and all this technology, I mean, being rich and famous, like that's like, what's better than that? You know what I mean? Like that's it. That's Mount Rushmore. But now, and I got a little production company and we do podcasts and, a tiny little infinitesimal amount of attention. But when I think about like the type of attention and scrutiny that these celebrities are under and how like with the phones and Instagram, like I think it's actually fucking terrible. Like I don't think that I would want that.
That's no doubt.
Like that,
I think it's horrible.
And I feel like so many of these people, and I mean, and I don't know them, but like, just like so many of them are like, have no choice but to play into this game, and it becomes this dark thing. But what I think is interesting is that your main man, Dana, that guy, he seems like rainwater just rolls off him. Like he seems so natural and so like he would be that way whether there were cameras on him or they weren't. Like I always think that about him. Whenever I see him out there.
Well, you do have to realize that he's been doing this with the UFC since 2001.
Yeah,
you're talking about a quarter of a century. And when he, we're all human beings, man, and we grow into our circumstances. Whatever our environment is, or we just flee it. We're like, fuck it.
Yeah.
But, I remember him talking.
Or we fuck it up.
Yeah. I remember him talking about, the first time when they were trying to get his first like real public speaking thing. And deal was in front of the Nevada Boxing Commission to try and get MMA legalized in Nevada, and it was illegal. And he was like, dude, I was so bad. I got so stiff. He goes, I felt like I had rigor mortis. I felt like, he's like, I thought Lorenzo was going to have to bring me out on a dolly because I was just like, but that's completely not what you see now.
Yeah, sure.
So he has grown. It's like anything. No one starts out as a black belt.
We
want to tell ourselves that, they just have talent. It's not talent. It's work.
Yeah.
Work, exposure, getting better, That's why, you listen to, you listen to comedian podcasts, whether it's Rogan or Duncan Trussell or Mark Maron or whatever. And what do they talk about again and again and again and again and again is bombing.
Yeah.
These are people who are in front of a mic. This is all they do. They're professionals. They're training to be professionals. And even at the zenith of their powers, they bomb.
Yeah. Because we're all just people. We're all just
people, and we all just put our pants on the same, and the difference, what do they say? The champion is the one, not the one who never gets knocked down. It's the one who gets up. Because we all are going to get the shit kicked out of us, you know?
All things being equal, I'll take rich over famous any day.
Oh, yeah.
And like, you know.
Oh my God, yes.
I'll take a couple of famous friends, you know, but like that attention just seems crazy. Crazy.
Yeah, for sure. So anyways, what you been watching anything good? You got anything good on you're watching or listening to?
Did you do Fallout?
I'm still only one episode in, but my daughter freaked on it. She loves it.
It's fucking scary. It's scary. It's
really
very timely. It's like it's scary because of how like plausible it seems. You know what I mean? Like,
bro, let me tell you something. Let me tell you something, man. There have been several articles. Douglas Rushkoff just came out, amazing writer, just came out with the book about all these billionaires that are building doomsday bunkers. You got Mark Zuckerberg building his freaking enclave in Hawaii. But you've got people that are like, they're building bunkers. Another article that I've seen is how many wealthy people are seeking European passports and passports from other countries. So they have a backup plan to get out of here.
Interesting.
So you got bunkers that are like that people are, this is not like, oh, well, maybe this is like, no, they're spending millions on survivalist bunkers, and they're spending as much as they need to spend to get European or wherever passports they can, so they can flee if something goes down. So
yeah, I guess all that money that's going to Ukraine, maybe, you know, maybe there's some condos, you know, in that region.
I think it was Peter Thiel. Peter Thiel is one of the
he's
PayPal
cool.
guys.
He's cool. I like him a lot.
Yeah, I think he just got his passport. I was reading in in Greece and Cyprus or somewhere. But yeah, I got my Italian passport, so now I just need a bunker. Maybe that'll be my business. Fuck. Maybe I'll start designing and building doomsday bunkers for billionaires, and then I could teach them jiu-jitsu. And while we're waiting,
where the real money is bunkers for the Gen Pop, because there's a lot of us.
Right?
Yeah, that's crazy. But Fallout, it's really, really. Did you finish Shogun?
No. I've been slacking, man. I've been totally slacking.
You've been out there living life in the fucking sun in Miami. It's cooler than watching TV.
I was just traveling actually, but and I just got back a few days ago. But no, I'm definitely gonna. I think. Which one is calling me? think I'm going to go into Fallout first and finish Fallout. So other than that, no, I just finished a video game. I'm a video game fanatic. And I finished Death Stranding by Hideo Kojima, and it was amazing.
That's cool.
Elon Musk is a massive video gamer, by the way.
Yep.
Massive.
Yep.
His game's Elden Ring. So, I grew up playing video games, and what I love about current video games is like Hideo Kojima he was the creator and writer of Metal Gear Solid, which has been a huge franchise. But it's like the great storytellers now for sci-fi are also in, especially him, are in video games. So yeah,
I love
that. But yeah, Fallout, I think.
I love the Zelda franchise. I really got into Skyrim. I don't like the newer style games of like online play, like my kids.
No, I don't either.
But I like the story-based open world to where it's like you're in this world and you discover it. Like I played Zelda since the 80s, but I got my kids. I bought it for myself when it first came out, the Nintendo Switch, and the Zelda series on Nintendo Switch, Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, amazing. Love it.
So good. I didn't play it, but I had a Switch when I was in the van, traveling in the van. But I didn't play Zelda. Yeah, so cool. All right, man. This has been a good one. Let's do it again next week. And
yeah, man.
Hopefully I'll get my tooth by then. I got to find a dentist. If anybody knows a dentist in Miami, I'm gonna put out something on Instagram and see if I can find a dentist.